Welcome to GBIRL, the podcast looking at the real business world of esports, gaming, and streaming with the people and personalities behind it all. Here is your host, Bill the Conqueror.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the podcast. And you all know my thoughts on Twitch. Twitch has become this insane beast of a streaming platform. When Mixer died, a lot of people felt like Twitch's only competition went away. But I'm like, well, wait a minute. There's still Facebook and YouTube gaming, and there's that. But Facebook and YouTube aren't gaming platforms first. They're not streaming platforms first. They're platforms that serve other purposes that also stream. And so that might seem like sort of an interesting way to put it. And I've looked around at other tools, other platforms. You have Trovo Live. You had D Live until issues were in cryptocurrency. I'm like, there's got to be something out there. And if you've looked on my Twitter profile recently, you've seen that I am considering a platform called Glimesh. And I have with me the CEO of Glimesh, Luke Strickland. Luke, thank you for making time for me today, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, man, no problem. It's great to be here, and I've listened to a couple of your podcasts so far, and I really like you have a very down to earth nature about you.
Thank you.
And so I'm excited to get started.
Groovy, good stuff. So I mean, this is just like any startup, and you guys are a startup. You're getting into a space that is well developed. This is a big uphill battle. I mean, you're going against Amazon. There is no bigger company than Amazon. They control everything pretty much. And so for people who like new ideas but don't understand what it means to build something from scratch, I mean, you guys have a big road ahead of you. It's not like you're just going to wake up one day and like, boom, here we are. That's not how this works in business. So I guess let's start with, what were the series of events that happened to you that in your personal life, in your professional life, you're like, you know what, we need to do this?
Yeah, and that's a great question, because I think it'd be crazy, to start anything, like, especially, where you're disrupting your normal status quo, your normal life to seek out a new challenge. Streamers have this all the time when they decide to go full time or not.
Right.
And I think when you start a business, it's the same thing, right? A stream is just a business.
Right.
And so when you start an actual, startup, it's very similar. You have to kind of weigh the pros and the cons, weigh the industry, weigh your knowledge, and then make a decision. And I think, my motivation, I've been interested in streaming forever. I've never personally been a streamer type. I'm not quite I'm an extrovert when I need to be.
Most
of the time I would like to be off camera, not talking.
Right.
But I've been a viewer forever. I've since livestream.com, since Justin TV,
right.
Since people were like creating this weird like Flash player video thing back in the old days. Yep. I've been addicted to like live content.
Right.
And I think over time, watching Justin TV appear, that was kind of the first snap, I think, for most of the people, where they realized, hey, this is actually something. This could actually be something real. I remember Justin TV was started because it was a guy named Justin Khan who was like filming his own like life, and Justin TV was Justin's life,
right?
And then it became a platform for others. And so I think, that's kind of where my interest started. That's where everything started to really grow out. I remember watching a lot of streams on Justin TV, and then when they rebranded to Twitch, watching a lot of gaming streams there. And then, now, of course, I watch lots of Twitch and YouTube and all sorts of stuff. I haven't watched any Facebook streams, though, not realistically. I don't know how to discover them yet, but we'll that soon.
And see, that right there is, and that's, I've said this multiple times, Facebook is not a streaming platform. It's a platform, it's a social platform that has a streaming aspect to it. And that's the one thing that I've heard from a lot of creators. How do you get found on Facebook? I mean, Facebook, Facebook serves the other like 75% of the world. Not, I mean, granted, Facebook when it comes to Facebook and North America, it's kind of moved to an older demographic. But Facebook for the rest of the world is huge. They love it. They all interact on it. The groups, the messaging, everything. And Facebook gaming is huge in the Philippines, Australia, New Zealand, South Africa, UK has some great streamers, but how do you find them? And that's one of the things that I think that's also where YouTube falls short. Is that you can go live on YouTube, but how do people find you? Yeah, and so there's a lot to it. So I guess sort of, how do you plan to fix that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it starts with being a streaming site first.
Right.
I think you made that point already, but when you go to Netflix, right, you're looking for movies or shows to watch, and it's a very clear purpose. You're using Netflix as a service to find content that you like, and then hopefully continue watching more content. Whereas I think your point about Facebook is exactly correct. The majority of people are using it for not live streaming. They're using it for the other 2.2 billion users like connecting with each other.
Right.
And so I think for us, streaming platforms, content creation, that's what we do. That's what we're circled around. That's what we're investing our time and effort into. We want to give people the best possible, streaming platform experience. One of the really cool things I think we're doing is, a lot of the times, all of these platforms are kind of focused around gaming. YouTube itself, when they first launched their live streaming feature, it was very focused around gaming. It was called YouTube Gaming.
Right.
And then over time, I think they are trying to make it live a little bit more, generic. There's churches now that go live with their sermons,
right?
Which I think is, that's when you've made it in the live stream world. When you've got like gaming on the left and like a church on the right.
That's great. I like that.
And so one of the things that we want to do at Glimesh is, we really want to understand the different types of streaming that there is. Educational streams, gaming streams, art, technology, even web shows. Where people are just talking for an hour.
Right.
Really understand those kind of demographics, and then give each of those demographics a portal, right? Their own homepage, if you will, where you can actually find content of that type in a way that's not going to clutter you out with gaming. So when you're looking at a web show, when you're trying to find a podcast to watch or some live commentary or something, you can click that button and be there instead of having to look through with Warcraft streams or Counter-Strike streams or whatever it is. And then when you are ready for Counter-Strike, you just click on the tab and you're good to go. So that's kind of one of the ways we're trying to solve that problem of discoverability by giving you those categories at a top level and then letting you find exactly what you're looking for.
So it's really interesting that you bring that up, because there are many other verticals. They're definitely not as big as gaming, but even a poker, which is gaming in a sense, but still, people will literally sit for hours and watch live poker, because for people who follow poker, that's a big deal. Following how styles shift and change. And I've tried with some friends of mine who are excellent cooks. It's like, live stream what you do. They're like, really? I'm like, there's a whole TV network where all people do is stand behind a counter and stir in a bowl. That's it. How could this not work on a live stream? Literally, it's just people smiling and putting stuff in a bowl and stirring. That's it. I'm like, that's perfect. And there are many other aspects to live streaming that are fabulous, that work very well. Podcasts. There's something about a live podcast that's not edited. You're just friends maybe yelling at each other about something that is just very raw, and I think that's what really draws people to it. So I guess my next question is, so you have the categories. For your categories, aside from maybe your general user base, hours watched in specific categories, what are some metrics that you're looking at?
I think for us, one of our core beliefs is that what we're doing is we're creating a sustainable platform. We're very focused on that that sustainability piece, that reliability piece. You know, I was going to answer kind of earlier part of the question of, you know, why we get started. Well, really, like the catalyst, the moment that it all became clear was when Mixer shut down. You know, I think
Okay.
a lot of people, you know, a lot of people were sad to lose Mixer, you know, because it was a great community and you could stream there and it wasn't Twitch, and that's great. But I think what we also forgot is that when Mixer shut down overnight without any kind of real notice,
Right.
people were left without paychecks.
Yeah.
Like people who were relying on income potentially from Mixer, from their subscribers on Mixer,
Right.
were, you know, left with not much time at all to figure out a whole new way of life. And, you know, I think to me, that's hurtful. Like that sucks the most.
Right.
You know, losing your community is really awful. But losing your income, that's something that's just, you know, when that happens in real life, it's dramatic events. You know, when you get fired, like that is a grueling moment for you.
Yes.
And to do that nonchalantly with a tweet, you know, that's ridiculous. People deserve better. And so I think, you know, for us, we're looking to create a platform that is sustainable. So our creators, people who choose to use the platform, can rely on us to continue to exist, to be here tomorrow, to be here in a month from now. You know, that goes in line with, you know, our transparency value, which is to make sure that you, the viewer, the streamer, the investor, whatever you want to be, you know the financial situation we're in, you know if we're profitable or not, you know what struggles we're facing, and you can make an informed decision based on that. So, you know, that's one of the KPIs that we're looking to measure, right? Is profitability. We want to make sure that we
well,
are,
yeah.
we want to make sure we're making more than we're spending, so we can continue to exist in the next month, right?
Right.
And it's not silly, but you know, a lot of startups don't give a crap about profitability because it doesn't matter, because you can just raise another round of funding and continue to grow.
Right.
We care a lot about profitability because we are bootstrapped. We're looking to, you know, not bank on the profitability, not immediately deposit into our bank accounts, but to use that profitability to create sustainability, to create more users on the site and more growth, right?
Okay, so that last little bit right there, there's a whole lot to unpack, and I want to start. With the profitability aspect, because I think that's important, especially in the startup world. I watched a video. I don't. The gentleman has an Indian name, and I apologize, I should know it off the top of my head, but he says that Silicon Valley is basically a giant Ponzi scheme, and that, when you in venture capital, it's not about profitability, it's about growth. It's about assigning inflated values to growth. And he even says in the video, the minute you show profitability, that they tell you not to. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. Isn't that the point of being a business? Do you like turn a profit? Isn't that? But it's really interesting that you say that you want to be profitable, that you're trying to that you're trying to create a sustainable platform. And it's funny because when you said that in a text message, like sustainable, I'm like, what does that even mean? Because that word gets thrown around a lot. It's a sustainable ecosystem. Like, okay, what does that mean? Because there's more layers to it than just, you know, we want this to last. Okay, how are you doing it? It's more than just saying we're gonna be this and this and this. It's more of how do you make it work? And I like your thought process of, we're going to try to be profitable versus growing massively. And I also like, and this is the next point that I want to get into with Twitch and other platforms, is your transparency, talking about we're in this situation financially. Here's our actual user numbers, because Twitch has a major problem with that. Whether it is why people are banned, how that process goes down, an appeal process, and I honestly believe Twitch pays a lot of lip service to wanting to be something that they're actually not. They have this advisory board of various streamers from various demographics, but they don't actually do anything. There's no, we're coming up on nearly 8 months of not knowing why is Dr. Disrespect permanently banned. Why? And I think that I honestly think people would rather have you tell them the truth than lie to them or not say anything. I always say to my kids, I'd rather have you tell me, I hate your guts, Dad. I really, really do. Okay, great, fine. I get it. I get why you're mad. Then kind of like be vague about crap. I just want to know. Let me manage reality. Let me manage reality first. And whatever the reality is, I can manage it, but I can't manage it if I don't have the information. And I think that it's honesty is one of those things that takes forever to build. It goes away in a minute. And Twitch has known about the issues around DMCA for a long time. They have shadow banned people for vague reasons. How do you plan to address those kind of issues around transparency? Because that's a big deal for a lot of people.
Yeah, I think transparency, just like the word sustainability, it's
right.
a very specific word used, and it dives into the bottom of the stack and the top of the stack. It's the whole thing. Everything
right.
that we do is around sustainability, and transparency is the same thing. Transparency is not just a buzzword to use to mean that you are open with your community about features that you're developing. Right. So transparency is about creating a culture, kind of from the very beginning inside the company, that means that it's okay to talk about things. It means that it's okay to share information. It's okay to it's okay to talk to the press, because that the rules and the guidelines that you created are standard and are strict and are, if this, then that, not,
right.
how does my gut feel about the situation, right? That you can speak to these things because you have a solid framework to base those decisions on, and you'll be backed whenever you talk about it. And so I think, transparency for us is really about, making sure that everyone knows our intentions.
Mm-hmm.
We're invested in sustainability. We know about DMCA. We've known about DMCA. Mm-hmm. We know that our creators have a supreme issue with DMCA, so we want to help inform you. We want to help build you and make you have a better stream by not using other people's copyrighted content. And then if you do get into trouble, we want to make sure that our process. What the steps are, what the strikes are, what kind of opportunities you have to defend yourself. Right. And then we want to make sure that how we deal with it. One of the things that we're going to do, which is there's another company called GitHub who does something similar. Mm-hmm. They every time they get a DMCA request, they make it public information. So whenever you go to the DMCA form, you're a big media company, you go to their form, it says that whenever you send this request, we will strip out your private information, but everything else in this request will be public information posted here. And I do that for every single DMCA request. That means that you can look at GitHub and see all of their takedown requests, how they're handled, any kind of counter notices that exist, and then you can see who's bullying who, right? Who's unfairly going after someone.
And see, for people that don't know what GitHub is, if you design software, you know what GitHub means. It's where you share everything. It's where you work remotely. It's where you pull ideas. There are people that literally spend hours on GitHub going around to everybody else's code and solving the problems for them, because that's just how GitHub is. And so I like your thought process right there of making takedown notices public, because there are people on YouTube whose sole job is to get other people off the air by setting them up to fail with DMCA. I like that. I love your thought process there. Thank you very much for that. I think that sort of leads into my next question of what are your main selling points for creators? Because you're in a war for talent right now, and we talk about transparency. That right there is a major thing that I think you're going to say. Hey, if you're a creator, someone files a claim that you've used their artwork or you've used their music without your permission, it's going to be public and everybody's going to see it. And then if the same person is doing that to 12 different channels, to be like, well, wait a minute, why is this person doing this? Or one person keeps doing it to one channel over and over again? What's going on? And I think that when you talk transparency, that is that is the case study that everybody will be like, holy crap, at least I'll know, because YouTube is the most opaque platform. They'll just say you have a strike for this sentence in the terms of service. You're like, I don't even know what the hell I did. I
Right.
seriously don't even know what I did. So that's great. So for creators, like I said, going back to my question, for creators, you have your honesty and transparency. What are some other selling points for creators when they're considering your platform?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of really cool, features that we're offering. Just to start with, I think, our features are the same thing, right? They're the same thing as transparency, sustainability.
Right.
They're not just like a gimmick that we're adding to be cool.
Okay.
They're a core belief that we have. One of those, core beliefs is that streaming should be interactive. Now, that doesn't mean that you, the streamer, has to, interact with your audience, right?
Right.
If you're doing a podcast, you don't want to necessarily read off chat while you're doing it.
Right.
But to have that, real-time engagement, to have that actual live stream, possible, that's one of our big selling points. We're going to have a technology called FTL, which is something that Mixer used, which gives you sub-second latency to your viewers. So they call it glass to glass.
Okay.
From the streamer's laptop or computer or desktop, from their screen to your screen should be less than a second on Glimesh.
Wow.
And what that realistically means is that it's actually less than half a second. So within 200 to 400 milliseconds,
okay,
you see what's happening. That's almost as quick as this Discord call. So
yes.
We're going to be offering true real-time streaming with our technology. Now, there are challenges there, right? We have to make sure that it's reliable and it works well over not ideal network conditions, but it's something that we're committed to. And there's even a new technology called WebRTC that's really getting a whole lot of buzz. It's been around for 10 years or so, but now that everyone's remote, now that everything is like, you can't see other people in real life,
right?
All this live video stuff is becoming important again. And WebRTC is going to be our next focus as well, to drive that latency down even lower, right? To get things to be even faster.
Okay, and that's fantastic. I think that is one of the major hurdles to streamers growing, is being able to interact with their chat as close to real time as you can. That's great. How will you handle, and I almost hate bringing this up because it sounds stupid, but as far as trolls, people doing horrible and mean things, I mean, how will you deal with that?
Yeah, so another one of our selling points, right, another one of our features is that we actually have what's called the Glimesh community team. And what that is it's a team who's dedicated to building a better community. And realistically, their duties entail, moderation. They're there to moderate the platform, make sure there's no bad actors, no one breaking our rules or terms of service. But they're also there to help inform, right? Whenever you're streaming, it's hard to know, what all the rules are all the time, right? It's hard to know exactly what you could be breaking, what you don't even know about. A lot of people don't even know about DMCA. So they don't know they're breaking a rule. They don't know they're breaking the law. And what the GCT, is there for is to help you learn more, help you learn how to stream better, how to do things better. And I think for the bad actor case, it comes very much into play with that. For streamers who are, trolling or doing bad things, we'll have a conversation with them and tell them, hey, what you're doing is not acceptable here. It's not okay to do here.
Right.
Make sure that they know that, and if they continue to do it, they'll be banned. The same thing for in-game trolls. We want to help give streamers resources to deal with people who are stream sniping or who are trolling them, or who come up to them on voice chat and use racial slurs to try and get the streamer banned. Right. And we want to make sure that we have a moderation team who understands that, yes, they're coming to you on your stream and using those racial terms, but if you allow that, you're enabling it, which is just as bad. So there's a whole bunch to unpack there.
So that whole thought process right there, that works really well when your community is relatively small, because I've heard people say this, that before Twitch got monstrous, it was a great community, and everybody could communicate, and everyone could get an answer within a reasonable amount of time to, okay, what's going on? Why am I in trouble right now? Or, hey, can you handle this problem? And then you scale to a point where you can't manage closeness. So managing closeness at scale is difficult. And so, what Twitch has done is they have created bots to monitor stream chat, to monitor their creators, and those bots make poor decisions. Those bots do make poor decisions sometimes. And then the ability to then rectify a poor decision, because, and I'll just as an example, a streamer, she's a mom. She was streaming Valorant, stepped away to get something to eat. Her 3-year-old daughter comes up and starts talking to chat, which, total accident. She can't, drag the child around the house all the time. And she gets banned. She gets like outright banned. Bang, you're done. And she's like, it was an accident. It was a complete accident. And it only after the Twitch community threw a giant fit did they finally reverse the ban. So I guess, how do you manage closeness at scale and still stay profitable, because the most expensive piece in any business is your team.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, salary is, that's the destroyer. But I think I'm going to start off by saying that I don't know. I don't think there's an answer, right? I think that I'm definitely not equipped yet at all to even be at a state where I know what the direction of the right answer on is.
Right.
But I do know, I do have my own core values that I believe in. I think when communities get too big, it's very similar to offices that get too big. When you grow a company, you start hiring tons of people. You start at 5, and then you have 50, and then you have 100, and then you have 500.
Right.
How do you maintain the culture that exists at the company, even though you have people that you'll never meet, right? Departments that you'll never even know exist. And I think you do that by providing events, by providing sessions where you talk with each other, where you break down each department, each community, if you will, into their own groups. And then you have people dedicated to those communities, maybe not necessarily to these 10 streamers, but to these group of 100 streamers. And then you continue to just make sure that you're as available as possible, as communicative as possible, as transparent as possible. And then hopefully you still create that sense of bond. Now, I said it with a grain of salt because, I think everyone, it's the popular topic is to kick Twitch, right?
Right.
And I think that's not exactly fair, right? Because there's a lot of people at Twitch who, are dedicated to building the best possible streaming site in the world, and they love their job and they try as hard as they can to possibly make change and make things happen. And I'm sure there's a bunch of Twitch staff members who saw that mother get permanently banned, and they were like, what the heck's going on? Why are we doing this?
Right.
And I think what you run into whenever you're a large company like Amazon is you're not, your users are not your shareholders. They're not the people who you really have to report up to. And I think whenever you decide to become a company that, is publicly traded, is that large, has investors and massive shareholders and other, conflicting interests, I think you end up making different decisions, right? You focus on a different area. So I think one of the advantages we'll have, especially while we're, young, and I say young as in like, before we're YouTube size or Twitch size or Facebook gaming size.
Right.
I think the advantage we'll have then is that we're not going to be this, shareholder. We're going to be this publicly traded company that has competing interests, right? We're focused on the streaming platform and making a sustainable streaming platform. So that we have your best interest at heart.
Right.
Now, there is going to be a time, and I keep saying this, there's going to be a day when an article comes out of, Glimesh bans the streamer for this unfair thing.
Right.
And how we deal with that will be the proof of if it's working or not.
And right there, I like that you even brought that up, because you're already thinking of, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Somebody is going to take a piece of information out of context or not get the complete story behind, okay, here's the 9 things we did before this person got banned. And like, okay, enough. Boom, you're done. Go. Just go. And people everybody's, it's funny because I say that when you're when you're in your basement in front of your keyboard, everybody's a genius. And for people who have never tried to start their own business, that sit back and go, well, you shouldn't have done that. You're like, well, okay, I didn't know that in the moment. Thank you very much, sort of a thing. Yeah. So I do have to say that I genuinely appreciate the fact that you're thinking about this. Hey, we're going to get this article. We're going to have somebody say something unfair. It's going to happen. We're not going to please everybody. And I think that's something that people lose is that you have to know who you serve and who you don't serve. You have to know this is our core audience. This is what we do, because I can guarantee you 8 months from now, you'd be like, well, these 4 categories are doing fantastic and these other 6 are kind of meh, and we need to allocate resources to what will make us grow and be profitable the fastest, because that's how we keep this going. Maybe we can come back to these categories, and some people are going to be upset at you. Some people will be upset. You're like, these 4, maybe it's poker, cooking streams, CS:GO, and some other game. It's like, hey, these 4 people love these 4 categories. Great, let's push more resources to there. We have to grow, and you're going to piss people off. And I don't think a lot of people realize that you have to operate at scale in order to be profitable. So I really like that. So speaking of operating at scale and focusing on your core values, what did you learn when a mixer shut down?
I think I learned that that communities are incredibly strong.
Okay.
I think I like to imagine the mixer shutdown as like this, not quite deadly bomb going off,
Right.
bomb that doesn't kill anyone but disrupts everything, going off in like the middle of the town. It happened. It destroyed everything. There was people thrown about and scattered everywhere, and somehow they were able to find each other and keep moving and keep going. I think what I learned from Mixer shutdown is that the community is the platform, right? The name, the company behind it. Sure, those things exist, but if everyone on Mixer decided to leave, Mixer before it shut down, it wouldn't have really been Mixer anymore, right? Everyone's fond memories of these sites, Twitch, Mixer, when they were young, is the audience and community that they had, and I think that can make or break you. So we learned very, very early on that community is very important, and then I think there's a couple of business insights that you can learn from Mixer as well. Again, I hate to. There's a lot you don't see. There's a lot you have no clue even exists. But I think simple things like, what if instead of investing, what was it, 20 million in Ninja?
Right.
You instead, invested 1,000 and 20,000 streamers, or whatever. How
right.
Flip that equation on its head and instead focused on getting new creators who have promise on the platform and giving them tools to succeed, and then seeing where they take your platform. So that's kind of what we want to do. We want to give people the tools, the resources, and the ability, and then hopefully their skills and their ethic will bring the site into popularity. That's one of our advertising strategies is going to be to work collaborativly with our content creators, the ones who really are embracing the core values of the site. People who want to work with us. We want to, partner with. I wouldn't say partner. Let me clarify. We want to work with them to, create advertisements around their content that leads people to our site, into their content.
Okay, and it's really interesting that you bring up that dichotomy, because I guarantee you the conversation at Microsoft was, we got to make a big splash here. Who can we sign? Because people with power and the ability to do things don't see beyond a certain level. So when it just feels like to me when you had Mixer and went out and signed Shroud and signed Ninja and they signed these bigger names to all this cash, there was somebody at these people will bring their communities and will grow. Bang. Because that's a big investment for a short-term spike.
Right.
And I have learned over time that there are precious few investors who understand the long play. That whether you invest 200 million in one person or maybe 500,000 in 400 other streamers or 40 streamers or whatever, doing, investing less with more creates like going back to your core values, a sustainable path of growth. And so so I guess the question is, how do you find an investor who will be like, I buy into it and I can see the long-term meaning 5 years, maybe, I don't know. How do you find those people?
Yeah, I think it's the whole in investing, right? In like investing in startups,
Right.
there's this concept of an angel investor, and what they do is they do very small investments,
Mhm.
100,000, 200,000, whatever it is,
Right.
to a lot of companies, right? So
Yep.
they spread their portfolio to be, a much wider portfolio for a less risk, right?
Right.
They're investing less of their money into it,
Right.
and the hopes there, right, is that by investing in 100 companies instead of one,
Right.
you'll get smaller returns but more reliable returns.
Okay.
They'll actually
Got it.
hopefully sell, or whatever it is. I think we have to take that same approach. We need to not consider the one streamer who will bring their entire audience to us on the one time that they stream.
Right.
We want to actually think about what the networking effect is, and how can we bring a whole demographic of streamers over, and make them successful on the platform.
Right.
Because I guarantee you, what you'll find is that if you bring over, we think about it in the concept of viewers. Viewers are important because viewers subscribe. Viewers subscribing makes streamers profitable, makes them be able to continue their journey, makes the platform profitable. So viewers are important, and I think in order to get viewers who are not just temporary, who are not just going back to Twitch after this is all done,
Right.
you need to build the community, and you need to bring the community over. And so I think you do that by collecting 100 streamers instead of one.
Okay.
And I think for us that's also cheaper. It
Right.
doesn't even have to be money. You don't even so far what we've shown with our social media is it don't even need to offer an incentive like a partnership program,
Right.
or money necessarily, direct money to
Right.
people for them to want something new and to want to try something new. So our approach so far has been to target these communities on Twitter, for example, and really build up that audience and make sure that they know that we're building a site for them. We're building something that hopefully they'll love to use, and they seem to have come so far, right? So that's going to be our kind of rinse and repeat strategy for a while.
Nice. Okay, so speaking of growth and rinse and repeat strategy, what are your thoughts around being involved with leagues and events? Because I know personally, one of the very first games I got into on Twitch was a StarCraft 2. I loved StarCraft 2 and the community around that, and some of their major competitions were at a DreamHack events, and there's all these leagues that kind of pop up and die and pop up and die and pop up and die, and every once in a while one will stick around for longer than 5 minutes. What are your thoughts on? What are your thoughts on finding some of those groups of people?
Right. Yeah. I think events is another synonym for community.
Yes.
I think
Yeah.
events give people like a rallying point to do something. And I think for us, we actually have an events team who is going to be dedicated to that exact question, which is both how do we create events that people will want to join and want to be in, but then also, and more importantly, I think, how do we find people who want to host events and give them the right tools to make those events successful?
Right.
So, I think we're going to work with the community that we have, because that's what's important to us.
Okay.
Right now, I think forever. So what we want to do is we want to find the streamers who want to do a charity event, or who want to do some esports competition, who have the experience and the knowledge to kind of get there, but don't exactly have the platform to be able to reach who they'd want to reach.
Right.
We want to take that and we want to give them that platform. We want to give them the tools that they need, and then really push it and sponsor it, even from our end, and work with our partners, our other business partners, who want to sponsor their event as well, to make it something that's meaningful. Because guess what that does? Like, that basically ensures that everyone wins, right? Because the viewers get an event to watch, which is interesting and engaging.
Mm-hmm.
The streamer who puts it together, who organizes it, gets the success of hosting the event and the confidence that they can do this again. We get the profitability because we get to get subscribers or event merch or whatever it is. We get to give our partners, our business partners, the opportunity to advertise their brand, to have it sponsored by this company. And so I think everyone wins there. I don't see anyone who necessarily loses out. And that's another great way to bring in people to the platform, so then they can continue watching. Now that they're finished with the event of the day, the Dota event or whatever it is, they can find more Dota streams, more StarCraft streams, and continue to watch more. Right, kind of gets them in the door.
Interesting. Okay, and I. So I like where you're going with that. It just seems to me that there's a definite barrier, and it's because, as far as I'm concerned, it's because the freemium business concept is starting to eat everything. Is that you have to give away so much just to get a certain percentage of people to actually spend cash on anything anymore, because there's just so many options. I mean, from a business perspective, how do you fight that?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think if you want to find a supreme example of that, you look right at Discord. Discord's put themselves in a position where they set the standard for being free, and now they're having issues continuing to grow their revenue, because everything is free. And what incentive do you have to subscribe to Discord when you can get everything and do everything for free? And so I think that is one of the problems that we're going to have as well, because for us, the balance of not disenfranchising those who don't have the extra income it means more to us than really pumping out the profits.
Okay.
So I think for us, what we want to do is we want to make sure that there are ways beyond subscriptions to support us and to support the streamer. I think it does get into, I think there's a lot of good ways to do that.
Okay.
So a lot of good ways, for example, are the gaming audience, for example. They are going to purchase equipment. They're going to purchase computers, chairs, keyboards, laptops, whatever it is, microphones. They're going to purchase it no matter what, right? If they want to get into gaming, they're going to purchase the next console. If they want to continue to be a streamer or be a better streamer, they're going to purchase new equipment. One of the ways of sponsoring or supporting a streamer, and by proxy us, the platform, is to actually make sure that whenever they are purchasing that new microphone, they purchase the microphone you're recommending, right? And be able to deliver those kind of tools directly on our website. That way you can go buy that microphone that streamer's using right there on the site. That's another way of us getting revenue, the streamer getting revenue, and you buying a microphone that is good the first time. Everyone wins.
Got it.
And so that's a great way to kind of start. I think there's also ads. You can show people ads, whether it's video ads, text ads, whether it's like built in the chat, whatever it is, there's ads, of course. I think what we're going to try is to see how far we can get without having video takeover ads.
Okay.
So that means pre-roll, mid-roll, any kind of roll.
Right.
Anything that takes over the video, takes over the content, that's not acceptable for us right now. Now, I say right now because, of course, it's just sustainability, right? We can't sustain with our current model, and ads, mid-roll ads are the solution. We're going to have to investigate it. But we want to see how far we can get without it, right? And hopefully the answer will be really, really far.
Good. I honestly hope that you do, and as somebody who's in charge of anything, that you can only go as far as your team takes you, and I think I definitely want to get into your team, because you cannot do everything. You have to eat and sleep at some point, and you have to have smart people around you that might be. You have to have smart people that are at least on the same path as you. They may not be in the same lane, but that's okay as long as they're on the same path as you. So who on your team has been like a been from either from day one or maybe day 6 when you decided to find some more people? Who's been some superstars out there for you?
Yeah, I think let me just speak generically first, and then I can get more specific.
Sure.
I think there's the team that is like the team proper, right? People who help build what we're making, and
Right.
that build is an abstract word that means everything. Simply thinking about features that we could have, to talking with users, to actually coding, to designing something, to anything. Building is anything that you do to help make something, and those people are thankfully all smarter than me, which is good. That's the first thing you want.
Yep.
You have people who actually know what they're doing way better than you because they help you balance, right? They help
Right.
you give that whole picture. I'm good at like one or two things. Some other person's good at one or two things, and combined, we're good at 100 things.
Right.
So, we've got several core teams within the organization. We've got our GCT, like I mentioned before. That's actually 17 people, which is huge.
Wow.
Especially as we go live, that'll be very important to engage with the community and annoy the crap out of them. Can't wait for that. Then we have 4 developers. We've got 5 on the design team, and then 7 kind of more general contributors who are working on product designs, thinking about how product works, how features work, working on our terms of service, working on building that. But I think the really great thing about Glimesh is, although those members of the team are critical in making sure this all functions and works together, they're more, collectors and facilitators of this information in the first place.
Right.
Since we are so community based, features will come in as a suggestion. Someone will make a pull request for it. We'll submit code for it, and it'll be live on the site without anyone on the team proper even touching it.
Wow. Wow. Okay.
Now, there's a caveat there, right? Someone on the team has to review the code to make sure it's
Right.
good.
Right.
That's kind of passive. And so I mentioned that because the other half of the team is the community, right? It's the people who tweet us awesome ideas or features, or who just tweet us good morning, who just say,
Right.
Hey, I like what you're doing, keep doing it. Because that is fuel, that's energy. That's what makes it that's what makes you want to continue going, is that the people who say, Hey, you're making a difference for me. Thank you. Right. Like that is, there's not quite a feeling like that. And I remember during our first stream ever, when we wanted to prove out our platform, we did a stream for charity, and we randomly picked a streamer who would represent us in a charity stream that was hosted on Glimesh, and his name at the time was Icarus. And I remember creeping on a stream. So what I did was I sent him right before his stream, telling him that he was selected. And then I tuned into his stream afterwards, and I went incognito in the background, and he started off the stream with the biggest smile of all time. It's a chat. I've got something to tell you. And then he teased it, of course, for 30 minutes for the views and whatever.
Right.
And then when he finally came out with that, he pitched the company better than I did, right? Better than I had at that point. Him being so passionate about it, just kind of when I saw that moment, I was like, okay, I actually said to my girlfriend, why would I want to do anything else?
That's awesome.
And so that's why we're here. And I think everyone on the team feels that same. We've got people who joined us sight unseen from day one. I pulled a guy named Paco straight out of the R Mixer subreddit and onto the team.
Wow.
We have a guy working at Microsoft named Hayden, who in his free time at night works on our FTL piece. He's masterminded the whole thing in his sleep.
Wow.
We've people who, and I hate not to mention, but everyone on the team is so critical to us, to us succeeding. And I think what I said earlier is the absolute truth. I'm not writing any help articles, and because I don't have to write help articles, because there's a team of people that means I can focus on what I'm good at.
Got it.
So without everyone fitting into the puzzle piece, this wouldn't work.
Very nice. I can tell as we've gone throughout this interview, you're getting more and more passionate. You're like, this is awesome and this is working. And I think something else that a lot of people don't know, you should follow Glimesh on Twitter, is you have weekly meetings in your Discord to talk about features, ideas. That's a really interesting concept. I don't know if it's actually sustainable over time, but at least for now it's pretty nice, right?
Yeah, we'll see. We'll learn and grow.
Yeah. So those meetings are they every Tuesday, right?
Yeah, so they're every Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern. We actually host them on our site. We're not launched yet,
right?
But we want to prove to everyone that we're building technology. We have a working platform, and what better way to do that than to eat your own dog food?
Exactly.
So that's what we do. And I think, they're not probably not sustainable. But right now, it's welcome. Anyone's welcome to join, to watch it.
Right.
But anyone is welcome to join it and voice chat as well and ask their questions directly.
Right.
Or just chat it out.
Right. Very nice. Okay. And that's wow. So I came into this conversation like, okay, how is this going to work? There's a lot of moving pieces. You're fighting against a behemoth. I mean, there's nothing bigger out there than Amazon right now. So I really like where you're going. So as far as a launch date, it says early 2021. What does that mean exactly?
I think it's funny. There's a lot of ways to break it. Let me tell you the driver of that.
Okay.
We're going to launch an alpha. So we're going to launch with basically bubble gum and duct tape, sticking everything together.
Got it. Okay.
And hopefully it'll be a little bit better than that. Hopefully it won't quite be that. But we say that, and we say alpha so much because it takes a lot to build a business. It takes a lot to build a streaming site.
Yep.
Especially when you have people who are working on their nights in their free time.
Yep.
And I think for us, what's more important is to get the platform, to have people using it, and then to continue iterating. So our first goal is to get out there, to have it open to the world. Anyone who wants to use it can come use it.
Got it.
And then talk to them, learn from them, and continue tweaking and continue iterating. We may learn that some of our early decisions were off, and we're going to go back and change them.
Right.
We may learn about brand new features that we want to add, or different ways of approaching things. We may learn that we hate the name and we want to change it. All of those things can happen because we're building this kind of interactively with people. So that's why we have kind of an abstract date, is because we want to make sure that we're ready to deliver something that gives everyone a common ground to talk about, something that won't be broken for half and working for the other half.
Right.
We want to make sure that we're comfortable with the technology. That way we're not having to, spend a week after we launch, drowning and firefighting. We want to make sure that all of our teams are ready and that the business is ready, both from a legal perspective, a tax perspective.
Right.
And then once we have that, then we'll give out the launch date. So we say early. We're very confident it's going to be early at this point, which is like, if the year's split into two halves, the early is the first half.
Okay, that's interesting that you say it that way. I like that.
But I think that we'll be launching sooner than the middle of the year.
Got it.
We'll see.
Luke, it's been awesome to talk to you. I appreciate you making time for me. I definitely want to have you back, definitely, because I like telling stories. This is a story in progress. Maybe 6 months from now, when you've launched and you're like, okay, I need to take a break for a couple of days because I can only drink so much coffee, to stay awake, right? But you're definitely welcome back anytime at all. Thank you very, very much for making time for me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. It's been a lot of fun, Bill. Thank you.
Good. All right, check out Glimesh.tv. I'll put a bunch of links in the description below, including Twitter profiles. I'll put a link to the Discord. Check out the shirt. Looking good on the shirt. I'll be sure to put all the information that people can find. Glimesh. Check out the Discord. Tuesday meetings, I wish I could go. I have a lot going on Tuesday, so I don't get a chance to go. But check out their Discord meetings. Check out their site. Please do like, share, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Follow me on Twitch as well. I will see you very soon.
Thank you for tuning in today. You can find links to everyone on the show in the description below. Check out Bill the Conqueror on Twitch and Twitter to stay up to date on his thoughts and ideas about gaming culture.